right, it's working. Okay. Hey, I've been told I have to stand up here on the stage because we're trying to videotape this, and we'll make it public for the Facebook group. So if you want to watch it again, if you're here, please do. And then obviously for those out there in the virtual world, hopefully they can get an opportunity to watch it as well. Hey, before we get started, I just want to kind of really start off with a couple of thank yous, and that's first and foremost to the Pacific Coast Church that hosted this today. Peggy, Gabby, that we've talked about, and really the full team out there. And I'm just going to provide an opportunity here for Pastor Matt to come up here and just say a few words to the group, and then we'll get started with the brief, okay?
It'll be very, very few words. I've only been at this church for 2 years now. This is the third time we've hosted this, and it is so great. There is nothing in my whole life. It's the only time I feel like, man, I am really out of shape, in fact, I'm even passing out cookies, and, not very many people are taking them, and I'm like, oh, why not? They're free. And then someone looked at me with dead seriousness and says, oh, there's a cost. There's a cost after you eat the cookie. And I was amazed. I've just never had that point of view in my life, which is very, very obvious. But I am glad that you guys are here. I hope you enjoyed spaghetti and some food. Very simple, but we're just happy to host you guys. If you're not connected at a church and you would love to come to a church, even just to check it out, we would love to have you guys come. And even if you were, like, you know what, I don't want to go to church, but I got these questions, and I got these, I'm angry at this, and I don't agree, and what's that? Get a hold of Mark, and I would love to sit down with anybody, grab coffee, and just hear and listen to anything that we could do to help as a church. But that's it. I don't have a lot of words. I'm just going to pray for us and pray for you guys. And also just want to say thank you. Thank you for serving. I've never served. My dad didn't serve. My best friend, his son serves. He flies an Osprey. He's been in for 4 years. That's my closest connection. And so I'm kind of, being at this church, I'm at a distance. I'm just in awe and a lot of respect. And I just want to say thank you for that. So I will pray. God, thank you for today. Thank you for another day to live and to breathe and to smell and to see and to enjoy your creation. I know in my heart there are many things that I take for granted. And so we pause and we say thank you that you are the creator, that there is no one bigger than you, that no one forces your hand, that we have today, and we are thankful for that. I'm thankful, Lord, for everyone here today, for everyone serving, and for the spouses who support. I just pray that this meeting would be good, and the information and everything that needs to be known and conveyed, that happens. But Lord, also pray just for the next months and year and all that until deployment happens, Lord, that you are with these guys. So we love you, and we thank you that your love for us is perfect, that we can't earn it and we can't lose it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. All right, thank you so much. Hey, just real quick, I just want to also just extend a quick thank you to Mark Sperling, our DRC. If you don't know Mark's been with the battalion for quite some time. He does a phenomenal job, and you're probably a recipient of his Bastard Blast email each week that he pushes out. However, he did take the month of September off, went to Croatia, enjoyed himself. So. But we're really fortunate to have Mark on the team. And for those who've been with the unit for a while, you know how much he does. And for those who've just gotten here, he's a huge resource and a huge help. So, Mark, thank you very much. Appreciate it. For those who know, Sergeant Major Crumpton, right up here in the front of the front seats. Sergeant Major Crumpton's obviously been with the unit for a while as well. And for those who are new to the command, he'll probably be departing here in the next few months, but we're kind of waiting on some word. But he'll be with us until he moves on, and we're glad to have him. Hey, my name's Pat Holland. I'm the new CO for the battalion. I took over for Lieutenant Colonel Jared Redinger back in July at the end of the month, and we're as a battalion. We're in a transition period, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And we've got a lot of folks who've been with the unit for a little bit of time. made the last deployment, maybe been with the command for 2, 3 years, some 4 years. And then we have a lot of folks who are coming in and are new, myself being one of those. In addition to that, we've got a lot of new leadership, and we're starting to get a lot of new Marines. So what I'd ask is, we'll talk a little bit about kind of what's coming up for the unit. We'll talk big picture, macro, and then we'll kind of get into the more micro picture over the next kind of 3 to 4 months and what that looks like. And if you have questions, please, please ask. Additionally, my hope here is, we'll continue to grow this thing, and the next one of these that we do in person, we'll continue to make bigger and bigger as we move forward, and we'll get more, kind of a little bit more participation across the battalion. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get the word out, and I think that's kind of my objective here, is just to get the word out to the team, so everyone, families know what's coming up, and I think that's pretty important. So for those that are here, pass the word on, pass what you hear tonight, answers any questions. Get the word out, and I think that helps kind of makes things a little bit, it doesn't make things really easy, but just having the information and having an open line of communication, I think helps out within a unit, all right? So with that, I'll just kind of go through a few slides. I don't think it's going to take too long, maybe 10 minutes tops, and then I'll kind of stop there and, open up for any discussion that anyone has, or a question anyone has to offer to either myself, Sergeant Major, or anyone else on the team, okay? Okay, so like I said, battalion's in a period of transition. Got back in June of this past year, and right now we're scheduled to deploy again in November of 2024. That's next year. Next year, November, we're a little more than a year away. We call that, we're about 390 days away from that deployment. And we'll go over to the 31st MU, and it'll be right now scheduled as a 6-month deployment, traditionally scheduled as a 6-month deployment, and we'll be back in May of 2025. All right, and I'll talk a little bit more about what the 31st MU is and what we'll be doing over there here in a second. What we're in right now is the start of what is called a unit life cycle. So unit life cycle, the beginning of it starts when they return from deployment. That's kind of where folks leave and come, depart the unit, join the unit, and then proceed into a training cycle. More Marines join the formation, more Marines join the battalion, and about between 9 and 6 months out, that's really when the battalion fully forms up before we deploy. And we have a pretty, it's kind of how it always works, but we have a pretty busy schedule in those 9 to 6 months before deployment as we get ready to deploy. And that's kind of the center part of the unit life cycle. And then the deployment is kind of the final part of the unit life cycle. And that's where we go overseas. We get on ships. We're land-based. Whatever type of deployment we end up doing, we're doing the 31st MU, but that's where you do it. And that's kind of the back end of the unit life cycle before it starts all over again. So we're right there at the very beginning of that unit life cycle. So with that, we've broken this thing down into 4 phases. We're in phase 1 right now of the unit life cycle. We've called that Reset the Battalion. That's happening as we speak. It started really in August through December. We've got those personnel transitions. We've recommenced training. And if your Marine has been in the field, you know that. We've started our training plan again. And then we'll move to what we're calling Test the Battalion Phase 2 in January. And in January through February, so about 15 January to the end of February, we're going to do an off-site training event up in 29 Palms, California. We'll be gone for about 45 days during that time, and we're going to execute what they call a service-level training exercise. That's kind of what they term it in general terms, but the actual exercise is integrated training exercise in 29 Palms. We'll go up there, we'll get some really good training in over about a 45-day period, and then we'll come back down to Camp Pendleton from there. And that ITX, that phase 2, that's an all-hands event. All right, we'll have the entire battalion. Might be a couple of folks staying back for a couple of reasons, but we're looking at that roster now, and then the full battalion will be heading up to 29 Palms. We get back, we'll take a little bit of a break. I'll talk about that in a second, but we'll really just transition into phase 3, and that's That's what we're talking about as far as to build and certify the battalion. And that's that 9 to 6 months before deployment that I was referring to earlier. We truly feel like we're going to get a surge of personnel, and then our training will get a little bit more mission focused toward what we're going to do for the 31st MU in November. And then phase 4 is that last phase of the unit life cycle. That's going to be employ the battalion, and that's the actual deployment. It goes around November through May of 2025. Okay, so what is the 31st MU? There's probably a number of folks here that did the 13th MU, all right? So 13th MU is a tradition, what they call a traditional MU. Comes off the West Coast. It involves an arduous workup, a very long workup, numerous at-sea periods, and it's pretty tough. Sometimes the workup for a West Coast MU or an East Coast MU, like the 13th MU, is as bad as the deployment. A lot of time away. The differences between the 13th MU and the 31st MU is that the 31st MU is in Japan. It's in Okinawa, Japan. That's where the MU is headquartered, and the ships, while not based in Okinawa, Japan, they are based in Japan up in Sasebo, and they come down and they pick up the MU when it's time to go to sea. So what does that mean for us? It still means a pretty busy workup, but it doesn't mean long at-sea periods during the workup, if that makes sense. All right, so instead of getting on ship 3 or 4 times for 3 to 4 weeks at a time, what we end up doing is we do a lot of individual and collective training to build the platoon and the company level skills here in California. And then we deploy to Okinawa, Japan. We link up with the MU, we link up with the ships, and we do our certification and our training aboard the ships once we're over there. So in some ways, it's a little less demanding than like a traditional MU that some of you may have just recently experienced. And for those you just got to the battalion and this is going to be the deployment, again, the workup's the workup, always a busy time, but a little less demanding than a traditional MU deployment, based off kind of what I've seen going through. Those kind of new to the MU and maybe haven't done a MU deployment, what do we do when we're over there? Well, we get on 3 ships. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, it will be our higher headquarters, and then we embark on 3 Navy ships. They're up there. We have a big deck, which is the USS America, and then we have 2 ships that look identical to each other, the New Orleans and the Green Bay, and we split the battalion. Some Marines get on each of the 3 ships. And our primary purpose out there is to be a forward deployed crisis response force. So if a crisis occurs, humanitarian disaster occurs, if our nation needs us to do something, we're forward deployed in that region, ready to execute. While we're not doing that, though, we'll likely work with a lot of allies and partners that are important to us out there. Folks like Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, and potentially others, just to name a few. All right, so that's about a year away. All right, but again, just want to kind of get the word out of what is on the schedule right now. All right, so that's kind of the macro picture of what's going on. So I'm just going to kind of transition here a little bit more to more of the immediate and mid-range as we go through. My apologies if you can't read it. Mark warned me. I ignored him. Mark, I'll do push-ups for it later. Okay. Hey, but the bottom right states exercise Valiant Mark. We're going to go into an exercise next week, but we got a pretty full dance card over the next 6 months. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing an exercise with the Singaporeans, and Marines will kind of be coming and going to the field over the next 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we will work a little bit over the weekend. We are doing a little bit this weekend, but we'll be working a little bit over the weekend next weekend as a part of that exercise. But after that, for the rest of the year, I don't believe we have any major events over the weekends for the rest of the year. As we move forward, at the beginning of November, we have our birthday ball. All right, so that'll be out in Pechanga. We'll talk about that here in a second, and that'll be immediately followed by the Veterans Day 96. So we'll celebrate the Marine Corps' birthday, celebrate some camaraderie and some Marine Corps traditions, and then we'll have a good time. And then after the ball is over, the Marines are essentially on their 96. We'll do some accountability the following morning just to make sure everyone's safe. But at that point, you're moving on with your plans. In November, we've got what we're calling Bastard Fex 2, or really just Battalion Fex 2. That'll be another week that the battalion will go to the field. That's a big event for us. It's Monday through Friday. And then we've got the Thanksgiving 96 coming up. Some more training following the Thanksgiving 96. We have our holiday party on December 8th. We're going to do that right now, scheduled to do it at San Onofre Beach, right on base, hosted by the city of San Clemente and the Marine Heritage Foundation. They're sponsoring it. Families, food, games. It should be a good time, good holiday party for the entire battalion. We'll move up to our winter leave block for the battalion. That'll be that Friday. The scheduled block of time right now is that Friday, the 22nd, through 3 January. And then, as mentioned previously, mid-January, the battalion is going to deploy up to 29 Palms, California, and execute the Integrated Training Exercise, IDX. And that will go from about 15 January through 27 February. And then we'll come back. After a big event like that, we've got a lot of reset to do, but one of the things that's important, we're going to do a post-ITX 96 when we get home. We'll have some maintenance and some reset we'll have to do there. But what we're aiming for in late March through early April is a battalion leave block. Coincided with spring break and trying to coincide with the local school district's spring breaks. So if you have kids in the school districts, there's about 4 or 5 that we're trying to look at, and you know, between the different counties around here. But it won't be perfect, but what we're aiming for is to give week blocks by unit, and there'll be some flexibility in there. So leave blocks a little bit longer than a 1 week. It's about a 3-week block of time, but you know, companies able to take about a week's worth of leave in the spring, just take a week worth of leave. You know, we've been working hard, and Marines and their families deserve a little bit of leave, and even the single Marines deserve a little bit of time off. So we're going to try to aim for that. All right, so that's pretty important to us, pretty important to me, and we're going to hold true to that as hard as we can moving forward. So more to follow, more details on that as we move forward. All right, but we're trying to strike that balance a little bit between what we've got to do for training and the mission, and the balance with the families and just kind of personal time off. And then more detail to follow as we go forward, but after that, we really move into the heart of the PTP, or the pre-deployment training plan, and that'll really go from about April to September. That's that core 6 months, and that's where we're going to be focusing on the mission-specific training that gets us ready for the 31st MU. And then as we approach November, we'll certainly execute some pre-deployment leave in October. So the one thing that's not on here, and we'll make sure it gets out in the Bastard Blast, I think it's already there, but we are going to do another town hall, but it'll be virtual. That'll be in December. Again, we'll have more information on integrated training exercise and departure and when we're leaving as we move forward. So everybody has the latest information before we hit that big event come January. So I'll kind of stop there. I think that kind of gives us the detail for the next 6 months, and then it talks a little bit about what's beyond, and we'll continue to provide additional detail as we get closer to it. I just want a big plug here, Marine Corps Birthday Ball. We're all going to be there. It's going to be a great time. How to buy tickets is on the Bastard Blast, and Mark can continue to get it out, but pretty reasonable for the ticket price compared to, like, say, if we went to Vegas or somewhere else. Child care is available, and I believe on, what day, Mark, is the room rate stopping? So the 16th of October, you can still get your room block at the rate that we secured of $164. All right, after that, I think the price goes up a bit. And then child care offset by some of our funds that we have, 45 for child care, and we're using the same child care service that we've used for the last several years. So again, good opportunity, and for those who are going to come, awesome, and they will be there because the battalion's going. Most importantly, to get this information obviously out to the Marines that aren't here and their families as well. And then I'll leave this up here as far as some contact. Probably the most important one is Mr. Sperling, Mark, our DRC. Chaplain Wynn is here. Where's Chaps at? Right here. His information is right here. And then Beth is here as well, I think still. She may have departed. Oh, there's Beth in the back. She's our family and life counselor, provides a tremendous amount of resources for us across the board. So I'm going to leave it, just pause it here with these folks, but we'll make this slide deck available to everyone, obviously, on the Facebook page and the Facebook live stream. So with that, I'll just kind of stop talking at this point and just kind of turn it over for anybody who's got any questions, concerns, or comments on what's going on. Okay, well, I won't make us stand here awkwardly looking at each other, okay? What I will say is this. Hey, it's a pretty senior crowd here, all right? It's a pretty senior crowd. And so for everyone who came and took a little bit of time out of their 96, I appreciate that. And obviously that wasn't necessarily the initial design based off, but things came up. Things came up with the exercise we're doing next week. And so it was kind of a choice between not doing the 96 or doing the 96. So we chose to do the 96, but keep this thing going on Friday. But because we got a lot of leadership here, what I think is really important is that we get the word out. We get the word out to the young Marines with families, and really all Marines. It really doesn't matter if you got a family or not, but for the families, I think it's just doubly important. If anyone's like me, my wife Kaylee, who's right here, she'll give me an earful when she's not getting the word. You know what I mean? So I get it just like everybody else. So let's get the word out. Let's make sure we're communicating. And I think that's half the battle most of the time. Just got to know what's coming up, know what's happening, and go from there. So with that, I'll just again say thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Pacific Coast Church. Mark, thank you very much for setting all this up for us. To the bastards, thank you for being here. And to those who are going to watch this virtually, again, the lines of communication are open. If you got questions, please let us know. We're trying to communicate. We're trying to build this thing as at the start of the unit life cycle as we move forward, and I appreciate what you do. Me and Sergeant Major are going to hang out up here, so if you got questions or you just want to come by and introduce yourself, please do, and we'll hang out for a little bit. Sound good? All right, Mark, what you got? You got anything else? No questions, but we have leftover food. Yes. Public service announcement. Again, Pacific Coast Church, phenomenal supporters, been supporting the battalion for a while, so when you leave, there's going to be, your dinners are probably taken care of for the rest of the weekend, and maybe early next week. Hey, if you're going to the field, maybe pack some of that spaghetti with you, take it up to Range 800 or wherever it is that you're going, and eat it. But hey, we need to grab some of the chow on the way out. Sound good? Okay. All right. I think that's it. Appreciate it. We'll be hanging out. Please, if we haven't met yet, please come down and introduce yourself. And again, thanks for what you do. Appreciate it. Right.